come before you to encourage you to understand that God is a healer, to know that God is a healer, and to trust that God is a healer. We have found out that there's many different times that's stated in Scripture that Jesus had provided a miracle. And at this particular time, we're going to talk about what happened in John chapter 9 when Jesus healed a blind man. So in other words, his eyes were open to the goodness of the Lord. So today, just think about how your eyes can be open to the goodness of the Lord.
Amen.
In John chapter 9, verse 1, it says, and as Jesus passed by, he saw a man which was blind from his birth. In other words, he saw a man who was born blind. He was born blind. That means that he didn't have any sight when he was born into this earth, when he was born into this world. He came out of his mother's womb not being able to see. Now, if you don't understand how things work when a woman has a baby in the hospital, after they have that baby, they check that baby to see if everything is working properly. You know, the hearing, you know, and everything. One of the things that they cannot check after the baby is born is their eyes. And the reason being is because they don't know whether or not that baby can see yet because the baby hasn't fully developed yet. And eventually, down the line, when the baby gets old enough, then they can have their eyes checked to see whether or not the baby can actually see. And so, in this particular chapter here, it's saying that this man was born blind. So he couldn't see regardless. So therefore, even if the doctors checked later on in his life, he was already born blind. And so we got to understand, my brothers and sisters, that just because a person is born blind does not mean that they cannot receive sight. Just because a person is born deaf does not mean that they can one day hear. And then if we can bring up the conversation about God can use a blind man, he can use a deaf man to do anything. And so we got to understand that we know many famous singers who were blind. You know, Stevie Wonder, for example. And so we can understand that God can still use a person, even while they're yet blind, to be able to do anything. And so Jesus, he saw a man that was blind from his birth. In verse 2 it says, and his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did sin? Did this man or his parents that he was born blind? So the disciples questioned Jesus. They would say, Master, in other words, teacher, tell us, who sinned? Did his parents sin or did he sin? Why is he blind? Tell us why he's blind. See, the disciples evidently didn't see too many blind men in their days and times. So they saw this man blind and they were trying to figure out how in the world did he become like this. Was it a sin that took place as the reason why? Many times tragedies happen in your life. Many times circumstances, situations take place in your life and people think that sin is the cause of it. But how many of y'all know sometimes God just want to push you into trusting him a little bit more, having faith in him a little bit more. Many times God will allow things to take place in your life so that he can get glorified. You may not have even sinned at all. It may not have nothing to do with sin. But God may choose to rock your marriage a little bit. He may choose to shake it up a little bit to try to see if you really going to trust him in the midst of your marriage being a little rocky and shaky. Sometimes God may allow you to lose a job so that he can see how big a faith you have in it. Sometimes God may call a child that you love dearly so to turn on you, to talk bad about you. Sometimes God will allow situations like that to take place in life. Why does he do that? So he can get glorified. And so we got to understand when things appear to look like sin has been the cause of it, it may not be the case. This man was blind, and these people, these disciples, they asked Jesus, so who sinned? You know, who was it that sinned? Did his parents sin? And that's the reason why he ended up blind, or did he sin? It's the reason why he ended up blind. And so we got to understand, my brothers and sisters, many times when we see a child acting out of order, it may not be the parent's fault. it may just be because God allowed that child to act a fool so that the parents can come crawling down on their knees asking the Lord to help. See, we got to understand, my brothers and sisters, because some people are born poor and some people are born rich. Some people are living in environments to where they have to face crime every day. Killing, shooting, all these different things taking place. You know, and we wonder why they're placed in those positions anyways. Is it a sin as the reason why they, caught up in those positions? No, it's because God allowed you to be in that situation so he can get glorified. And so we got to understand, my brothers and sisters, that it's very important for us to realize how God works. And how can you know how God works? You can know how God works by your relationship with Jesus. With your relationship. Because every day you work on your relationship with Jesus, you get to know who your God is. Because your God will begin to start telling you spiritual things that you didn't know before. And so this is a spiritual lifestyle that we have to live. It's very important that we walk in righteousness and holiness at all times so that we might know how big of a God our God is. Because the Bible says, greater is he that is in us than him that's in the world. And so if that's the case, then it's evident that God can do anything. And so if we have faith as a grain of a mustard seed, then we would know God is able. We will understand that he is able. And he's able to heal the blind, as he did with this man. But let me get back to the text here, because I want to share something with you. He says, verse 3, Jesus answered, neither has this man sinned, nor his parents, but that the works of God should be made manifest in him. I must work the works of him that sent me while it is day. The night cometh when no man can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. So Jesus responded and said, nobody sinned. This man didn't sin. His parents didn't sin. But the works of God should be made manifest in him. The works of God. It is God's work that is within this man. This man is blind. He cannot see. But it is God's work that manifested in him. God wants to get glorified, in other words.
Yes.
He wants people to recognize who he is by watching this blind man do what he do. This blind man, yes, he's blind, but it does not mean that he's handicapped. See, just because a person is blind or deaf, just because they may not be able to walk, does not mean they're handicapped. See, people label them handicapped, right? They label them disabled, right? That's the ways of the world. The world has labeled a person disabled or handicapped. But we got to understand that they're not disabled and handicapped in God's eyes, because God still can use them for his glory. God can still get them to, call on his holy name. God can use, somebody who can't even speak if their vocals is all messed up. God can still use their mind. God can, even though a person can't see, God can still use their hands. They can still clap. They can still sing. God can still use them as the way they are so he can get glorified. And so God used this blind man so he can get glorified. Come on, let's follow me here in the scripture. Verse 6, when he thus spoke and spat on the ground and made clay of the spittle and anointed the eyes of the blind man with the clay. So Jesus, he spit on the ground. The dirt on the ground, right? He spit on the ground. In order for you to make clay from dirt, you got to spit on the ground, or either you got to have some water touch that ground so you can make some mud, in other words. This is what he made. He spit on the ground, and he made some mud. And then he anointed the eyes of the blind man. And see, we got to go back to the conversation about anointing. We take oil, oil like this, and we anoint people and pray over them, right? So we got to understand, my brothers and sisters, when you anoint a person, then you're having faith and believe that God is finna work, right? And so Jesus anointed this man with mud on his eyes. And he, of course, is Jesus. So, of course, he already knew that he's about to work a miracle. But the people that were around that was watching this, that he had to get them to understand that they must have faith. So he could have just said, you receive your sight right now. But no, he anointed his eyes first because he was working. He was trying to get the people to have faith. So he anointed his eyes with the clay and said to him, go wash in the pool of Siloam, which is by interpretation Shem. He went his way and therefore and washed and came seeing. So the man evidently listened to what Jesus had to say. He put the mud on his eyes, told him to go wash in the pool. The man went to go wash in the pool by faith. Follow me here. In order for the man to receive his sight, he had to obey God first.
Amen.
And he had to have faith in God first. So if he had not went to the pool to wash the mud off his face, he most likely would not have been able to see. But because he was obedient to God's word, and he went to the pool, and he washed the mud off his face, he was able to see. And so I want to talk to somebody today who's willing to obey the words of the God. Who's willing to obey what God has to say. When God tells you to go over yonder or do this and that, are you going to obey God? Or you going to obey his command? Or you going to listen to the righteous God that we serve?
Thank you, Lord.
If you listen to the righteous God that we serve, then guess what's going to happen? You're going to be blessed and highly favored. You're going to receive miracles and blessings, healings. You're going to receive forgiveness. You're going to receive all that God has to offer because you were what? Obedient to God's word. And so we got to understand that your eyes are open to the goodness of God when you are obedient to God's word. God wants us to worship him in spirit and in truth. In order for us to do that, we got to be obedient to God.
Yes.
In order for us to even be obedient to God, we got to have faith in God. So we got to have faith as the grain of a mustard seed, knowing that this God that we can't see, that we can't physically see or touch right now, we got to have faith so small as a mustard seed so that we can be able to understand that he's real. How many of y'all know God is real this morning?
Yes.
If you know God is real, you ought to clap your hands and stomp your feet because God is real.
Yes.
God is very real. God is showing us how much that he's real by the act of healing this man from his blindness. He's showing us how real he is. It don't take all that you heal and then you heal. You know, he's just saying it, speaking, and you know, sometimes it takes a little bit of faith. And so what he did was he told the man to go over yonder after he anointed his eye with the mud. Because he wanted to see how big a faith this man had. And he also wanted to see how big a faith the people that were watching had. Hallelujah. So let's go to verse 8. It says, the neighbors therefore, and they which before had seen him that he was blind, said, is not this he that sat and begged? So the people, the neighbors, the people, in other words, who knew this man, they knew he was a blind beggar on the street. They said, hold on, something's not right here. This is the same man that was begging on the street, blind. How in the world is he able to see right now? So they questioned this. You know, and then verse 9 says, some said, this is he. Others said, he is like him, but he said, I am he. So people were questioning whether or not he was him. They were trying to figure out, hold on, that can't be him, because just the other day I saw him over here blind, and he was begging on the streets. So how in the world is he able to see now? Follow me here. Verse 10 says, therefore said they unto him, how were thy eyes open? So eventually these people came into a realization that this was the same man that they had saw begging on the street. After they questioned whether or not he was even him. But evidently they believed that was him. So they said, how did your eyes open? Who gave you sight, in other words? What happened? Verse 11, he answered and said, a man that is called Jesus made clay and anointed my eyes and said unto me, go to the pool of Siloam and wash. And I went and washed and I received my sight. So the man acknowledged what Jesus had done. He acknowledged that Jesus came to him, anointed his eyes with mud, and told him to go wash his eyes in the pool. And he did so and received his sight. Later on, the Pharisees got into the conversation. You know, if you read the chapter, continue to read. The Pharisees got upset because Jesus, once again, you know, healed somebody on the Sabbath day. We know that Jesus is Lord even on the Sabbath, right? Yes. Jesus, the Bible says Jesus is Lord even on the Sabbath. Even when he was going through the cornfield, plucking the ears of the corn. He's Lord even on the Sabbath. It don't matter if it's the Sabbath day or not. If Jesus wants to do a healing, he's going to do the healing. So we got to understand that Jesus had the authority to heal this man even on the Jewish Sabbath day. And of course, you know, they criticized him, said he wasn't of God. I mean, I know sometimes that the devil, the enemy, the people who are not or against you will criticize you and try to say that you're not of God. You can be a Christian walking around in righteousness and holiness, and people still say you're not a Christian. People still criticize you and say that you're in sin. And they don't even know you like that. Don't never let the devil rise up to the occasion to tell you that you're something that you're not. The Bible says, so a man thinketh and so he is. So we got to understand that if you think that you're something, that's what you're going to be. So I want to talk to somebody today who want to think righteous and know that they're righteous. I want to talk to somebody today who wants to think holiness and know that they're holiness.
Yes.
You got to understand, my brothers and sisters, that it's all about the way that you operate in the Lord, and you got to operate the way by faith. See, if you operate in your flesh will get in the way of your blessing, and guess what's going to happen? You're going to miss out on the miracles that God has. See, if this man was in his flesh and say, you must be crazy. I've been born blind. Been blind all my life. You're going to come to me all of a sudden and tell me to go wash my eyes in the pool over there? You must be crazy. I mean, y'all know sometimes God will tell you to do things that seem crazy. He will sometimes come to you and tell you to go over yonder and do this, and you be trying to figure out, Lord, what are you talking about? Why do you want me to go over there and do this? God wants you to go over there and do this because of what? He wants to get glorified. God got glorified by this man obeying him, going to the pool to wash his eyes. Because now he can see. And the people around him can see. And they can reap the blessings that he has. I mean, I know sometimes God will bless you just by obeying him, and your blessing will rub off onto somebody else. And everybody around you will feel the blessing. Because that's how big of God that we serve. Amen. Amen. You know, God may bless you to be able to come into a realization that he is God. And he is the one that you must serve. And once you committed yourself to God and you became a Christian, God may send you to go preach to an individual who's lost and need Jesus. And therefore, because you have been blessed by receiving Jesus, now your blessing has rubbed off on somebody else, and they have received the same blessing that you received. Yeah. Because of your obedience. And so that's why it's very important for us to understand that our eyes will be open to the goodness of the Lord once we have obeyed his commands. Hallelujah. Amen. Thank you, Holy Ghost. Yeah. But they went back to, after the Pharisees got involved, they questioned the parents. They asked the parents about it. And the parents spoke up and said, yeah, he was born blind. But you're going to have to ask him how he received his sight. If you keep turning, you go to verse 25, he answered and said, whether he be a sinner or not, I know not. One thing I know, that where I was blind, now I can see. Amen. He said you can question Jesus all day long, in other words. You can talk about him all day and say he's a sinner, he's not of God, he's not righteous. You can say that all day long. But one thing that I do know is that I was blind, but now I can see. We had a sister back there, Sister Connie told us in Sunday school this morning. She said she was blind before, and God healed her eyesight. Amen. And she able to see now. Amen. That's somebody in our own church telling us that she was once blind, but now she can see. And so we got to understand, my brothers and sisters, that God is able to do it just like he done it in the scripture. He's able to do it in today's world. See, he did it with that sister back there, and she confessed and acknowledged the fact that Jesus healed her eyesight. Amen. And so we got to understand that we serve a God who is big enough to provide a miracle for us. As he split the sea for Israel. As he healed the blind, raised the dead, healed the sick. Oh, hallelujah. Thank you, Holy Ghost. Provide bread from heaven. See, Jesus is that good. God is that good. And so we got to understand that when our eyes are open to the goodness of the Lord, we will see and reap the benefits and the favor of God. Hallelujah. Thank you, Holy Ghost. The book of Amos 5:24, it says, but let judgment run down as waters, and righteousness as a mighty stream. Hallelujah. Judgment run down as waters. and righteousness as a mighty strength. When God says we worship him and we commit ourselves unto him, we better listen. When God tells you to worship him, commit yourself to him. Commit yourself. Commit to it. Because guess what's going to happen if you don't commit? The Bible says, let judgment run down as waters and righteousness as a mighty stream. See, God's judgment will come on this earth, and it will run down. Like the scripture said in Amos 5:24. It will run down as waters. You ever seen waters or just running down, just running so fast down like a river? But a stream, it just creeps on in peace. It just flows in peace. See, righteousness flows in peace. Righteousness is peace. The Bible talks about, we got a song that says, I got peace like a river. You ever heard that song? I've got peace like a river in my soul. So if you got peace like a river in your soul, guess what's happened? And you are flowing with peace. Righteousness has took over. And no more flesh can get in the way. And so I want to talk to somebody today who wants to allow God to work on them so much that their flesh ain't got no room to work. Hallelujah. You missed that. Your flesh don't need to have room to work. If you allow your flesh to have room to work, then guess what's going to happen? Then you ain't going to be able to walk in the spirit. See, God wants some true worship. Those who are willing to walk in spirit and in truth. And when you're a true worshiper, walking in the spirit and in truth, then you will understand the things of God and you will understand the nature of God. The nature of God is holiness. God is an eternal God. He's an eternal spiritual God. And so that's his nature. And because that's his nature, everything that's attached to his nature, is surrounded by righteousness and holiness. And so his kingdom is also surrounded by righteousness and holiness. Everything about God that took place years ago when it came to the creation of the earth and the living creatures and mankind was all surrounded by righteousness and holiness. And so I want to talk to somebody today to understand that your eyes are open to the goodness of God right now because you have access to all that he has to offer. He has to offer you a place in his kingdom of heaven. And in order for you to receive that, you must commit thyself unto the Lord and continue to walk in his ways. But we have people that's not going to be found faithful serving the Lord, and guess what's going to happen? In the great coming of the Lord, they're going to miss out on God's blessing. They're going to miss out on God's blessing. We talked about it 2 Sundays in a row. We talked about how there's going to be a great falling away. It's going to be the tribulation. We're going to have a rapture. We're going to have all these things taking place. Jesus is going to come out of the clouds in a great glory. And every eye will see. Every knee shall bow to the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. And so I want to talk to somebody today to understand and know that Jesus Christ is very real. Jesus is real, I know. See, Jesus died on the cross for your sins. He rose on that 3rd day. He covered you with blood and love. Jesus already gave you a cover. And so, my brothers and sisters, you must understand that because he had already, don't y'all know it was a miracle when he died on the cross? It was a miracle because God sent his son, Jesus, to die on the cross. That was a miracle. That's a miracle in itself. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. It's a miracle that God even loved the world that much. It's a miracle. He loved us. And it's so very important for us to realize how much he loved it. He loved this blind man. That's why he healed him. He loved Lazarus. Y'all know Jesus, he loved Lazarus. That's why he raised him from the dead. He saw the pain that Lazarus' sister and them were going through when they found out their brother was dying. So Jesus, he felt a little bit shook up himself. So he decided to go ahead and heal Lazarus, raise him up from the dead. So we got to understand, my brothers and sisters, that Jesus is the eternal Lord. And because he's an eternal Lord, guess where he's going to be? He's going to be in heaven with his Father. Sitting right there on the throne. He already left his home once before. And he already said, once I go back to heaven, I'm going to come back and get my people. I'm going to come back and gather those who were really committed to my ways. Hallelujah. This blind man eventually received Jesus in his life. Jesus came to him later in the chapter and he asked him, about who is the Son of God. And this guy didn't even know who the Son of God was. He was questioning who it was. So this was a person who evidently was an unbeliever at the time. He didn't even know who Jesus was. He found out who he was after he healed his eyes. And then he realized that he was actually the Lord that he needed to accept in his life. And the Bible tells us that he accepted him in his life. Verse 38, and he said, Lord, I believe. And he worshiped him. And he worshiped him. The Bible tells us that he started believing in Christ. And he worshiped him. And all this took place after he healed his eyes. So guess what happened? As I brought up before, this man received his blessing by obeying God. In the midst of him not even realizing that he was obeying God, he obeyed Jesus because it was just a little bit of faith that took place. All he had to do was have a little bit of faith. He didn't really know who Jesus was. He didn't really know what he really was about, but he did know one thing: he was blind, that he couldn't see. So, let me go ahead and just take a try. Just take a leap of faith. All it took was a little bit of his leap of faith to get him to see again. Well, to even see, because he couldn't see at all. To even see. So he took a little bit of faith. And that's what I'm trying to encourage you, my brothers and sisters. All you have to do is take a small leap of faith. The Bible says, have faith as a grain of a mustard seed. Take your right foot, go ahead and step one. Take your left foot and step again. Take a little bit of faith walk to your blessing. Because faith is to believe what you cannot see. And the reward of this is to see what you believe in. So we got to understand that this man, he evidently was able to see the goodness of God in the midst of him having a little bit of faith. And so it's important for us, my brothers and sisters, to do the same. If you want healing, power, you have to learn to trust Jesus. You have to learn to trust him. Your eyes can be open to the goodness of God. Young folks, your eyes can be open to the goodness of God. Time is slipping away. Time is ticking. I bring this up all the time because we have folks that don't understand how badly time is ticking away. There's a clock on the wall back there, and it's going by every hour. Tick, 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 tick. Time is ticking away, just ticking, ticking, ticking. So it's very important for us to realize that if time is ticking away like that, then we, my brothers and sisters, must understand that our time is critical. Our time is critical. It was critical for this man to go and do what Jesus said to do, which was wash his eyes in the water. It was critical. And because he did it in the right time, he received his blessing, his miracle. And so God is a God that's about time. And so you may think that you got time to get it right now, but no, you ain't got time to get it right now. You feel me? You may think that you got time to get it right now, but you ain't got time to get it right now. Why did I say that? I'm saying that because when somebody thinks that they got time, they may not have time because God may take you out in the blink of an eye. Mm-hmm. You think that you got time while you're driving on the street. I'm trying to explain myself here. You're driving on the highway, for an example, and you done already believe that you got way enough time to even get it right with Jesus. Right now, you ain't got no relationship with Jesus. And you just driving on the highway. And somebody just, boom, you're dead. You're gone. You didn't have time to get it right with Jesus. You're thinking you got time, but you might not have time to get it right with Jesus. That's why it's very critical. That's why it's very critical for us to commit ourselves to the Lord. Because when you're driving on this street, you never know. One takeout, all it takes is one turn, one hit, boom. You don't have time to repent. You don't have time to say, Lord, forgive me for my sins. You don't have none of that time. You don't have none of that time because you just died at the instant. And so, therefore, it's important to go ahead and work on yourself now. Examine yourself. Find out, what can I do? What can I do to change my ways? What can I do to commit myself to the Lord? You can do quite a bit if you just have faith. It's a grain of a mustard seed. So as I close today, we're talking about a healing of a blind man. God can open your eyes to see his goodness. You might not be blind, but he can open your eyes. That's right. The spiritual eyes, the eyes that need to be open to see the goodness of the God. Because we got a lot of folk walking around, believe it or not, that are blind as we speak. They may not be physically blind, but they're blind spiritually because they cannot see the spiritual things of God because they're blind. That's right. And so, therefore, God has to open up their eyes to see his goodness so that they may repent and be forgiven and come into his glory. So God bless you this morning. If you need Jesus,